What if I told you the first weapon ever made wasn't invented by us? It was invented by a species that went extinct hundreds of thousands of years before modern humans even existed. And honestly, the more I dug into this story, the less it felt like a tale about violence, and the more it felt like a story about intelligence. In Germany, buried in an ancient lakebed, archaeologists found something that shouldn't have been possible. Wooden spears, 400,000 years old, older than our entire species. So who made them? Not Homo sapiens. These spears belonged to an earlier human relative, one that hunted horses in organized groups, long before anyone who looked like us ever walked the earth. Think about that for a second. Weapons are older than humanity itself. And honestly, before any of that, there was probably something even simpler. A rock gripped tightly. A branch swung hard. No craftsmanship at all, just raw force, aimed with intent. That, in a way, might be the very first weapon humanity ever held. But a sharpened stick is one thing. Somehow, our ancestors went from that to spears, to bows, to weapons that could kill from 100 feet away without ever touching what they were killing. That leap is what actually interests me here. How did that happen? The answer starts in South Africa, at a site called Kathu Pan. And weirdly, it wasn't really about a weapon at first. It was about a problem. How do you make a stick kill better, without making it heavier? The solution was something called hafting, attaching a sharp stone point to the tip of a wooden shaft. Sounds simple, right? It really isn't. It meant planning 3 separate steps in advance, sometimes days before the hunt even began. Scientists dated these hafted points to 500,000 years ago, 200,000 years earlier than anyone believed possible. And personally, I think that number gets glossed over too fast. This wasn't instinct. This was early engineering. Think about what hafting actually demands. You need to find the right stone days before you even see your prey. You need to shape it, carry it, and trust that the plan you made earlier will still make sense later. That's not muscle memory. That's foresight, in its earliest known form. But a spear in your hand only kills what's close enough to stab. And some animals were absolutely not something you wanted to get close to. So what did ancient humans do next? They learned to throw it. In Ethiopia, researchers found stone-tipped javelins dated to nearly 300,000 years ago. Older than our own species again. Distance suddenly meant survival. A thrown spear meant you could hunt a hippo or a crocodile without standing next to it. Fewer hunters died. More animals were caught. One invention quietly changed the odds of survival for an entire community. Still, a human arm can only throw so far and so hard. To hunt something bigger, something faster, ancient humans needed more power than their own bodies could physically give them. So they invented a machine, not electronic, not complicated, just a stick with a hook at one end that extended the throwing arm itself. Today we call it the atlatl. It's honestly one of my favorite inventions on this list because it's so simple and so clever at the same time. The atlatl acted like a lever, snapping forward with the wrist, launching a dart at speeds over 90 miles per hour. Suddenly, ordinary hunters could kill animals 10 times their own size. Wounds matching atlatl darts have actually been found on mammoth bones. Some researchers even believe this single invention helped push entire species of giant Ice Age animals toward extinction. That's a strange kind of power to hold in one stick, and that's worth sitting with for a second. A single tool made from wood and antler may have helped wipe out animals that had survived on this planet for millions of years. Ancient humans weren't just adapting to their world anymore, they were starting to reshape it. And here's the part that genuinely surprises me every time. The atlatl wasn't invented just once. It appeared independently, in Europe, in the Americas, in Australia. Completely different peoples with zero contact, solving the exact same problem alone. But even the atlatl had limits. It was long, heavy to carry around all day, not exactly quiet either. If you wanted to hunt something smart, something that could hear you coming from a distance, you needed a different answer entirely. So what would you invent if you needed a weapon that was fast, silent, and small enough to carry with you everywhere you went? In a cave in South Africa, archaeologists found tiny stone points damaged in a very specific way. Microscopic fractures that only happen when something is fired at extremely high speed. These arrowheads were dated to over 60,000 years ago. Some estimates push even further, past 70,000. Long before farming. Long before cities. Long before writing existed anywhere on this planet. The bow solved every problem the atlatl couldn't. It was small. It was silent. It let one hunter completely alone take down prey that used to require an entire group with spears to bring down safely. And think about what that quietly did to daily life. A single person, working alone, could now feed a family without needing a hunting party at all. That's not just a weapon upgrade. That's a shift in how entire communities were structured. And here's what's genuinely wild. Once humans invented the bow, they almost never redesigned it. The same basic mechanism survived almost completely unchanged for over 60,000 years. Most people assume weapons kept evolving constantly, generation after generation, getting more complicated every time. But the bow proves the opposite. Sometimes ancient humans got something so right the first time there was simply nothing left worth improving. Not every weapon needed a workshop or years of trial and error, though. Some of them were sitting right there in the dirt, waiting to be picked up. The sling might be the simplest weapon on this entire list. A strap, a small pouch, and a stone. That's it. No carving, no shaping, just physics and a steady hand. I actually find that kind of beautiful. The deadliest tool doesn't always need the most effort. But don't let the simplicity fool you. A skilled slinger could launch a stone faster than an early arrow, hard enough to shatter bone or crack straight through a skull from dozens of meters away. Ancient armies feared trained slingers more than you'd expect. You've probably heard this weapon mentioned before, even if you didn't realize it. The story of David and Goliath, a shepherd boy bringing down an armored giant with nothing but a sling and a stone. Turns out, that story wasn't exaggerating the weapon's power much at all. In Israel, archaeologists uncovered over 400 sling stones, all nearly identical in size and shape, dated to over 7,000 years ago. And that similarity is exactly what makes them terrifying. Nearly identical stones in that quantity doesn't happen by accident. It means someone was organizing production, planning ahead not for a single hunt, but for something much bigger. Possibly the earliest evidence of an entire community arming itself on purpose. And that detail sat with me longer than I expected. Somewhere, 7,000 years ago, a group of people looked at their neighbors and decided they needed weapons ready before anything had even happened yet. So far, almost every weapon we've covered was built for one purpose: hunting animals, feeding a family, surviving the wild. But that's not where this story ends, is it? In Kenya, at a site called Nataruk, archaeologists uncovered something disturbing. A group of skeletons, roughly 10,000 years old. Obsidian points still embedded inside their skulls. These weren't hunting wounds. The pattern, the positioning, the sheer number of victims, all pointed to something else entirely. This may be one of the earliest known signs of organized violence between humans themselves. And that's the part of this story I find genuinely hard to sit with. The same tools built to keep humans alive, hunting mammoths, feeding villages, defending against predators, could just as easily be turned against each other. And here's the part most people miss entirely. Every weapon on this list required something no other animal on Earth could do at this scale. Planning steps in advance for a problem that hadn't even happened yet. Hafting a point took foresight. Throwing a javelin took timing. Building an atlatl took real engineering. Making a bow took patience, spread across generations. In my opinion, the real weapon was never the object itself. It was always the thinking behind it. And if this sounds familiar, it should. We've seen this exact pattern before on this channel. No single genius invented iron either. It was slow, regional, built by trial and error, by people history never bothered to name. Weapons followed the same quiet rulebook. So the next time you see an arrow, a spear, or even just a simple sharpened stick, remember, it was never only a tool for killing. It was proof that humans could imagine a problem before it ever happened and quietly solve it centuries before they actually needed to. And maybe that's the real thread running through this entire story. Every weapon we've talked about today started the same way. Not as a weapon at all, but as a question. What if I could reach further? What if I could plan ahead? What if I didn't have to get close at all? Ancient humans kept answering that question over and over for hundreds of thousands of years. And in a strange way, we're still answering it today. Want to know how ancient humans discovered fire next? Drop a comment below, and I'll cover it in the next video.